Hi students, you're looking at a graph that describes the concept of the four humours. The four humours was a medical hypothesis developed and championed by Hippocrates of Kos. This is an island in Greece, and he did that in 420 BC. The fundamental concept of the four humours is that all humans make four liquids developed in four different organs, and that these organs produce these liquids, and the balance of these liquids inside of us, the balance of these humours inside of us, would determine our overall health and our personality. So what we have here is an example of individuals who might be considered having predominance in one or more of these particular type of humours. So we have the four humours looking at our energy levels. So choleric, which is a energy, or I should say a humour that is produced, made by yellow bile in the gallbladder, while phlegm is a liquid that is produced in the lungs and would be associated with an individual who's phlegmatic. Black bile is produced in the spleen and is associated with an individual who's melancholic, while blood is produced in the liver and is associated with somebody who is sanguine, or generally positive and upbeat. So Tigger is an example of a character that would be pretty choleric. He's pretty high energy and positive emotion. So he would be a sanguine, choleric individual. Rabbit, with a lot of nervous, negative energy, kinds tend to be a little bit pessimistic, also very focused on running around in its garden, tends to be choleric but melancholic. Eeyore, being someone who's negative and dreary and slow, so like, okay, gotta go if you wanna, is going to be someone who's melancholic and phlegmatic. While Winnie the Pooh is generally slow but happy and positive and upbeat, so he would be someone who's sanguine and phlegmatic. So the fundamental idea is that everybody has a unique combination of these humours, and that the physician's job was to figure out where you normally are, and if you were unhealthy, then they would have to figure out how to get you back to your natural state. So Mr. T, I think of myself as being pretty positive and upbeat and relatively slow. I'm not a particularly fast mover. Now, if I was unwell in ancient Greece, the physician might see, okay, well, he's, let's say, running hot. Maybe that the problem is that Mr. T is producing too much yellow bile, so the physician would attempt to reduce my yellow bile. That would be the idea. Now, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because this is related to the concept of homeostasis. Fundamentally, this idea of balance, whether they're using the idea of four humours or carbon dioxide and salt levels, it's the same fundamental premise, that individuals have a balanced state in which they optimally function. The other reason this is important is because of the idea that these humours could be passed down in the family. And that's really getting into the idea of genetics. So Hippocrates didn't know what DNA was or genes, but the idea that you might inherit your parents' humor, or say, oh, he's stubborn like his grandfather, there was a real understanding of the idea that not just physical traits would get passed down. It's not just that you look like your dad or your mom, but you might also inherit some kind of temperament from your family, and that is an important concept. So from observing that truth, it was the beginnings of figuring out, well, how do those traits actually wind up getting passed down? And that is explored by scientists throughout the years, but going from 420 BC, we really didn't understand the how of these traits until, give or take, the 1950s. So it took several thousand years to go from the observation of traits that are natural to an individual being passed down to actually understanding the mechanism for that inheritance.